Nobody is born disciplined. Not the person at the gym every morning before 5 a.m. Not the elite athlete who trains through injury. Not the CEO who hasn't missed a workout in 12 years. Every single one of them built it. Deliberately, repetitively, neurologically. Discipline is not a trait you either have or don't have. Discipline is a skill, a trainable, measurable, scientifically documented skill. The research is clear on this, and by the end of this video, you will understand exactly how this skill gets built. If you're new here, every video in this series goes deeper than motivation and mindset and into the actual mechanisms of how your brain works and what you can do about it. Hi, this is Ken, certified fitness and nutrition coach. Hit that like button if you're ready. Here we go. Start with the definition, because most people have the wrong one. The common definition of discipline is something like forcing yourself to do things you don't want to do. That definition is the source of most people's failure with it. Because if discipline requires constant force, it will always deplete. You can't force your way to permanent behavior. The force runs out. The stronger the prefrontal limbic regulatory circuit, the more easily your rational intentions override your emotional resistance. The neuroscientific definition is different. Discipline at the brain level is the ability of your prefrontal cortex to regulate the impulses generated by your limbic system. In plain language, it's your rational brain overriding your emotional brain. It's not about force, it's about circuitry. The stronger the prefrontal limbic regulatory circuit, the more easily your rational brain overrides your emotional brain. Neural circuits are trainable. They respond to repetition exactly the way muscles respond to exercise and training. Every time you choose the disciplined action over the comfortable one, that circuit gets a repetition. The myelin sheath around those neurons thickens, the signal gets faster and stronger. The next override becomes slightly easier than the last discipline. It is not willpower, grinding through resistance. Discipline is a neural circuit getting stronger through use. When you look at someone who is consistently disciplined, who trains every day, who eats well without white-knuckling it, who gets the hard things done before the day pulls them off course, you're not seeing a person who has more willpower than you. You're seeing the output of a circuit that has been trained longer than yours. What looks effortless from the outside is the result of repetition from inside. The 5 a.m. person doesn't leap out of bed energized every morning. They get up because the circuit is strong enough that the override happens almost automatically. The behavior has moved from effortful prefrontal override to automatic basal ganglia execution. It feels like less work because neurologically it is less work. This is critical. Comparing your current level of discipline to someone who has been building theirs for years is like comparing your first week of lifting to someone's 5th year. The gap isn't talent, it's reps. The question is never why don't I have their discipline? The question is, how many reps have I put into my circuit, and how do I add more? Here are the 3 brain systems that control discipline. And understanding this changes everything. System 1, the prefrontal cortex. This is the seat of the rational thought, long-term planning, and impulse regulation. When you decide to go to the gym instead of watching TV, this system made that call. It's the most recently evolved part of the brain, the most uniquely human, and critically the most susceptible to fatigue, stress, and sleep deprivation. When your prefrontal cortex is depleted, discipline collapses. This is not a character flaw, it's biology. System 2, the limbic system. This is the emotional impulsive brain. It runs on immediate gratification, threat avoidance, and comfort seeking. It does not care about your long-term goals. It cares about right now. When the prefrontal cortex weakens, the limbic system runs the show. And the limbic system will choose the couch every single time. System 3, the basal ganglia. This is the habit brain. It stores repeated behaviors as automatic programs, so the prefrontal cortex doesn't have to be involved. When a behavior has been repeated enough times, the basal ganglia takes over the execution. The behavior becomes automatic. This is why long-term disciplined people don't appear to use willpower. Their disciplined behaviors have been transferred to the basal ganglia and no longer require active prefrontal cortex. Strengthen the prefrontal cortex through practice, protect it through sleep, nutrition, and stress management. Use repetition to transfer behaviors to the basal ganglia. That's the entire discipline architecture. The mechanism is neuroplasticity. Every time your prefrontal cortex successfully overrides a limbic impulse, every time you choose the disciplined action over the comfortable one, two things happen at the cellular level. First, the neural pathway is connecting intention to action gets myelinated. Myelin is the fatty sheath that wraps around neurons, increasing the speed and efficiency of the signal transmission. More myelin means faster, stronger, more reliable signaling. Second, the synaptic connections in that pathway get strengthened through a process called long-term potentiation. The connection literally becomes more robust with use. The practical implication is enormous. Every single rep of discipline, no matter how small, physically changes your brain. A 5-minute workout on a day you don't want to exercise isn't just a workout. It's a myelin deposit. It's a strengthened synapses. It's a more disciplined brain than you had before you started. This is why consistency over intensity is the right strategy for building discipline. 10 5-minute workouts produce more neural adaptation than one 50-minute workout. Because 10 is 10 reps of the override circuit, and 1 is 1 rep. The brain doesn't count minutes, it counts repetitions of the right choice. Here are the 4 practical methods that build discipline scientifically. Every one of these has a body of research behind it. The prefrontal cortex gets stronger through controlled exposure to discomfort. Cold showers, hard workouts, fasting, sitting with the discomfort instead of immediately relieving it. All of these are prefrontal cortex training. You are deliberately practicing the override. The more you practice it in low-stake situations, the stronger the circuit becomes in high-stake ones. Implementation intentions. Research by psychologist Peter Gollwitzer shows that specifying exactly where and how you will perform a behavior dramatically increases the follow-through. I will train is a goal. I will train at 6 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at the gym is an implementation intention. The specificity creates a pre-made decision that bypasses the daily negotiation with your limbic system. The decision is already made. Willpower depletes. Environment doesn't. Removing friction from disciplined behaviors and adding friction to undisciplined ones reduces the prefrontal override load. When the disciplined choice is the easy choice, the prefrontal cortex barely has to engage. Design your environment so that discipline is the path of least resistance. Sleep deprivation is one of the most powerful suppressors of prefrontal cortex function, documented in neuroscience. Recovery is not the reward for discipline. Recovery is the infrastructure that makes discipline biologically possible. Protecting your sleep is arguably the most disciplined thing you can do. The first 30 days of discipline are the hardest. The circuit is weak. Every override is effortful. The limbic system fights hard because it is used to winning. Motivation runs out. The gap between who you're trying to be and how you feel in the moment is enormous. This is the period where most people quit and conclude they're just not disciplined people. What they don't know is they were 30 days away from the inflection point, because around the 30 to 60 day mark, if the reps have been consistent, something measurable starts to happen. The circuit is stronger, the overrides get easier, the behaviors start moving toward automaticity in the basal ganglia. The limbic resistance doesn't disappear, but it dims. Discipline starts feeling less like grinding and more like momentum. The compounding effect of discipline works exactly like compound interest. The early returns look too small to matter. The late returns look impossibly large. The people who are disciplined for decades didn't get there through exceptional willpower. They got there by staying long enough for the compounding to take over. Nobody is born disciplined. The most disciplined people in your life built it. One neural repetition at a time, in the exact same brain you're using right now. The science is not ambiguous on this. Discipline is a trainable skill. Neuroplasticity is real. The prefrontal cortex responds to practice. The basal ganglia automates what gets repeated. The circuit gets stronger with every rep. The only variable is whether you understand the mechanism well enough to stop waiting to feel disciplined and start building the circuit instead. Strengthen the prefrontal cortex through stress inoculation, pre-decide with implementation intentions, remove friction with environment design, protect the infrastructure with recovery, add reps every single day, stay in long enough for the compound effect to take over. That's the science of self-discipline. It was always a skill. It was always buildable. The only thing that was missing was the instruction manual. Watch this next video for a deeper look at what's happening in your brain when you avoid exercise.